Hello and welcome to my new format called Bogle, brief overview of games lately experienced. Essentially short reviews with little to no spoilers. First up is The Witness, a puzzle game from 2016 created by John Blow and his newfound company Thekla. And oh boy did it click with me. No tutorial, no objectives, you're placed on an island with no knowledge or purpose. Free to run around and explore in any direction. The puzzles have a very simple premise, but this premise is mixed with practically everything you can think of. Throughout the playthrough you'll have to come up with your own theories and rules on how these puzzles work, because nobody will tell you. Then you will see those rules being wrong or incomplete, as the game constantly introduces new concepts, forcing you to adapt and come up with something new. It never lingers too long on one design and keeps your creative thinking on its toes. The point is to make you feel that high of discovery and not to bog you down in a convoluted puzzle. I often felt like a scientist who just came up with a breakthrough, and that kind of feeling is so rare and so precious to experience. The game design is phenomenal, the puzzles are picked with great consideration and placed well. There is this unspoken puzzle language that teaches you without a single word. And the developers, or I guess I should say John Blow, have this uncanny understanding of players' trail of thought. Everyone's different of course, but in my case, wherever my theories went, I often found little hints, like an unseen hand of a developer already there, nudging me toward the answer. So to me the difficulty was greatly balanced. It's pretty hard, but at the same time fair. Never pushing it too far, though there are a couple of puzzles that almost cross the line, but they are very much off the beaten path, and if you are there, you kind of sign up for it. Despite how logical the game is, I actually really love it for the feelings it invokes, the very rare ones I haven't felt in a long time, or even completely new ones. I can't mention them all for the sake of not spoiling it, but one of them is what I call the Witness Enlightenment, that comes closer to the end of the game. Just to clarify, enlightenment has nothing to do with the real life, it's just in the context of the game, so you won't get any smarter or acquire some hidden knowledge of the universe. It's just that previous you, looking at the same picture on the screen, will not be able to see what the new you will. Your very perception will be changed, enhanced, and it will never be the same. And that kind of feeling I've never seen done by any game so intentionally and so plainly. Probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense for people who don't know, but if you get it, you get it. The Witness quickly became one of my favorite games of all time. It's an absolute brain treat, it's clever, it's beautiful, I love it. 100 out of 100. After The Witness, I've decided to check another Jonathan Blow's creation called Braid, platformer puzzle from 2008, which then got Anniversary Edition in this year, 2024. So unintentionally I played it twice. Braid has a simple premise of time manipulation and, similar to The Witness, goes exploring it extensively. Again, it does so with a minimalistic approach, you could say, and doesn't like to repeat itself. It constantly provides you with new concepts to explore. It comes to the extreme when two doors standing next to each other can make you stuck thinking about them for half an hour. There are different worlds with their own rules on how exactly you can manipulate time. Most of the puzzles are fun, but only a couple managed to really impress me, to really get that puzzle high. For the sake of not spoiling it, I can't say more, but a lot of them were in a world called Time and Place, and another one you're seeing right now. I know a lot of people hate that one, but I love it. It's like a little taste, a little tease of what The Witness later will be pulling off. In Anniversary Edition, they've added commentary part where you can listen to Jonathan Blow talking about Braid and game design in general with multiple people. They also added extra puzzles to tackle, plus some of alternative designs and cut content puzzles, which was very welcome. I very enjoyed that. The commentary though, I appreciate the effort for making it such an extensive commentary, but I don't think the game is a great medium for that. Most of it was very passive experience when you as a player are sitting there for hours with nothing else to do. And I enjoy the commentary. I wouldn't mind going through it on YouTube or Spotify, but putting it in a game with no interactions to be had for such long periods of time is a huge miss in my opinion. In any case, I do recommend to check Braid out, as well as pretty cool parody of The Witness called The Looker. John Blow works now on Sokoban box pushing style game, and whatever it's going to be, it doesn't even matter, I'm going to be checking it out. And I rate Braid 75 out of 100. The next game is Baldur's Gate 1, an RPG created by BioWare, originally released in 1998. It got enhanced edition made by Overhaul Games in 2012, and the same goes for Baldur's Gate 2 in 2013. With the recent release of Baldur's Gate 3, instead of playing it like a normal human being, my curiosity got the better of me and I decided to explore the OG franchise. Well, my cat can't do shit. Wait, it actually unlocked? What? And explore I did. My path was filled with frustration, misery, and mild depression as the first game irritated me deeply on almost every possible level. The story felt uninspired, you'll be reading through mounds of high fantasy drivel about heroes, a big bad evil, and your protagonist's special destiny until you fall asleep on your keyboard. Choices are linear, for example, you can accept a character in your group or decline, follow a quest or pass. There's no skill checks, so no matter if you're made a joke barbarian or talkative bard, your stats will not matter in the dialogue. Some companions, such as Imoyen, Jaheira, Khalid, or Minsk, are slightly more fleshed out, but even they, after their initial quests, are nothing more than just walking husks who repeat their lines when you move them. Funny enough, the characters who have been developed the most were the ones added in the Enhanced Edition. Dorn the Blackguard and Nira the Wild Mage both had a semblance of a story arc with multiple quests and a conclusion. The battle mechanics suck, they couldn't decide between turn-based or real-time, so it's real-time with a pause button. You have to constantly pause the battle and assign actions to characters during every encounter, so it's frame by frame unruly mess. It's filled with problems, it's very inconvenient, and this is the way you'll have to play unless you play on the easiest difficulty or with the companions on autopilot. Encounters themselves are endless grind galore. 90% of the time you'll be dispatching random creatures that jump on you in the wilderness that have no relevance to the story. The crime system is so bad you don't want to have anything to do with it. Play this sound near me. I need experience so hard. Oh no! And you will kickstart a deeply rooted panic attack. Long story short, these guys of a set level, you won't be able to defeat them practically until you go through half of the game. And they will spawn anywhere. You can spawn in the middle of the square, in the open doors, jump on you from a fucking barrel, it doesn't matter. They'll spawn and they will stay there. So it has a possibility of soft locking you somewhere in the game if you don't have a save. It's insane. Again, it's a very old game with very different standards and nostalgia, I get it. This is not for me. Did I like something about it? Yes. I like that I've learned about D&D 2nd edition, like the hilariously weird taco system, technically Taco Zero, where lower armor class is actually better for you. I saw old spells and how they were prepared back in the day, some bits of lore and so on. In the story department, sadly, it peaked with the village idiot Nuber, and it was downhill ever since. Would I recommend it? No. 25 out of 100. One of the worst games I've ever played, and honestly kind of disappointing considering the cult following it has. Baldur's Gate 2 Shadows of Amn came out 2 years later in the year 2000, still created by BioWare. On the Wikipedia, which is a very trustful source I know, it says that developers spent a lot of production time on creating the engine for the first game, and for the second game they had the engine ready and could actually focus on creating the content. And from what I saw, it really shows, because it did a major leap from its predecessor and improved practically on every level. The maps are no longer random wastelands, but actually have relevance to the plot, with some environmental storytelling, little secrets, and puzzles here and there. It's nice. The story also flows much more naturally. Every companion now has their own personal quests and story arcs where they develop to a reasonable extent. I still can't say I enjoyed them, but at least those elements are now in existence. Battle mechanics are largely the same, opposing hell. The biggest problem is the overpowered spells that D&D has at higher levels. To combat that, developers heavily used magic resistance. By the end of the game, every second enemy can completely ignore your spells. Your gameplay as a caster becomes focused on trying to lower that resistance, and by the time you lower it, enough physical characters have already killed them. It's a giant mess, it's poorly designed still. Baldur's Gate 2 failed to keep me interested. The style of storytelling is not engaging at all. It could be palatable with better presentation, but understandably all they had to work with were pixels and plain text. At least now, when I meet a fan of Baldur's Gate 2, I can see what they enjoy. With the first game, I was completely confused about what exactly caught their eye, but with the second, I can see how someone might have enjoyed it back in 2000 or even now, though I still won't recommend playing it today. There are far better games, in my opinion, that do the same thing much better. It's 45 out of 100 from me. And the final game is Baldur's Gate 3, released in 2023 by Larian Studios. I've played Larian's last two games, Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2, and while I like them, they are quite rough around the edges. I would recommend only to people who crave for more RPGs to play. On the other hand, I was pleasantly surprised by Baldur's Gate 3. It was a complete delight to play, with the presentation brought on much higher level. The combination of writing, voice acting and animation is simply stellar. This is the best storytelling delivery that I've seen in any game to date. I can't recall a single better example. All the companions and key story characters are amazing. The sheer amount of dialogue is astonishing. You can talk to practically anybody, down to even rats. Animal speaking and speak with the dead D&D spells are included, something that average game studio might cut out because only a small portion of players will ever use them. But Larian adapted them in the full force, which I was very delighted to discover. I currently play D&D 5th edition and know the rules quite well, so seeing how they adapted battle mechanics was another thing that I admired. Turn-based as it should be, with all the features and skills and spells. Some are cut, some are changed, but for almost every decision I could see how and why it works better for a video game. All the spells like Eldritch Blast, Magic Missile and Sleet Storm are no longer vague pictures in my imagination, but shown on a big screen with voice components and nice animations. It's pretty cool to see for someone who plays D&D. Of course, there are things that I disagree with, like characters deciding to land on lava while they can fly, or going prone, suddenly ending your turn and breaking concentration. There are a whole lot of things like that, but you know, if somebody who does a lot of things also does a lot of mistakes, and for the most part they did a truly great job at adapting. Among the big criticisms would be poor optimization, usual suspect when it comes to Larian. They did it in Divinity Original Sin. It just so happens that this time around I have a powerful enough PC, but some of the other people that I know do not. The other criticism is the lack of multiplayer interactivity. There are a lot of restrictive quirks when it comes to playing in co-op, and I wish they had worked a bit more on that. The first time I played as a custom character, Ken Orkenheimer, I rated it as 90 out of 100. but after another run as Dark Urge, I decided to raise it by 5 because of the bold and effective storytelling, especially after going through the first 2 Baldur's Gate games. Not to spoil it, but let's say Dark Urge was handled there incomparably weaker. In Baldur's Gate 3 it had tragedy, it had turmoil, it had potential for emotional struggle. I once again was impressed by the great storytelling skill showcased in Baldur's Gate 3. It's 95 out of 100, would recommend to everyone. And that's it. If you're interested, there are full live streams of all the games mentioned here on this channel. So thank you for watching, see you around.